Hey, welcome back everybody. Welcome back to my channel, Muse Jester. My name is Junior. This is going to be my last video on this issue or in this item because I have done a lot of videos that I usually don't do in the my review channel, but a lot of people seems to be very concerned about their product. So, and I've thought about this and everything, and I'm sorry I'm making multiple videos. It just doesn't occur to me until later on, where time has passed, what things was lacking in my video and what I need to fix. And I noticed in my very last video when I was disassembling this, a lot of important steps were out of frame and everything. So in this video, I'm going to make a very conscious effort so that you can see every step. So if you want to do this, you can do it on your own. First off, what is causing the crack? Is it a design flaw? Is it quality control? Is it error use? And I'm going to say it's all three of the above. There is a design flaw, which we'll talk about later on. And I'll show you what I think might be the design flaw. And second, can it be a quality control issue? Yes, because even when you open this out of the box, you are not the first one to handle this. When it's in the factory, they're being assembled by people, and they're not very conscious of where the breakage are. They're just like assembling really haphazardly, and I guarantee you when they're disassembling this, they're holding it like this or they're holding it like that, even though there's no pressure. But of course, when you're screwing it in, even if they have motors and everything, they're holding it like this. They're holding it by the abdomen. It's very natural to do that. So it could have stressed this area already when they're holding it or something like that, and then added on to the player when they're struggling with the transformation because it's tight inside here, and we'll go through that again. And they might be doing this when they're extending the abdomen, or they forgot that this is locked and they're extending it. Or even when you release this, watch when you release this. I always do this now to make sure there's not a lot of stress. Even when you release it, there's enough force in there. Like when they're extending this, and this has been modified. When they're extending this, it's possible instead of just going straight, look, they're doing it like this and basically hitting those two side rails and damaging those. But even with that, even with the player error, the collector error doing that, you're not the first one to do that. Factory people, worker, were doing that, and they were just as having a hard time doing it, and they didn't pay $275 for this one. They're just workers. They just want to get this done really quickly, so they're probably using a lot of force when they're pushing it in there or pulling it out. Trust me, they're not being careful with this one. They're just doing their job. So I think it's all three. So don't blame other players for being forceful. These videos are meant to make them aware. They're being careful as they can, but the damage may have been done already. So what do you do if you want to disassemble it? First thing is you need to release this backpack. There's 3 screws, 1, 2, and 3. So I'm probably gonna fast forward at this point because I've done this before. But let's see if it's quick enough, then we'll just go through it. If you guys are bored about somebody screwing things, you know, just go forward, and I will definitely talk about everything that you need to do to disassemble this and how carefully you need to be, because obviously when you're disassembling something, you're putting stress on plastic that's not meant to be put stress on, because you're not supposed to disassemble this. Also, if you're going to do that, be very knowledgeable with your comfort level on how you're doing this. I use magnets to keep my screws in place so they're not falling all over the edges. And if you put a magnet with your screwdriver, obviously that magnetism will transfer along the iron, and instead of this one bouncing around, it will just basically pull off. You're already seeing, because I've already opened mine, you're already seeing how it separates, right? As you can see, it's already separating this one. So here's the thing. This is basically being held on by this plastic rod over here and the metal rod in here. This is only the second time I've done this, but usually what I'll do is I'll carefully kind of swing this back and forth, because you're going to be stopped by this plastic, this gray plastic over here. It's clamping this down, so don't force it much more further than that. But that's all that's all you're going to be able to rock. Look at how I'm rocking it. Now again, see how it fell down already? Now again, I've already disassembled mine, so mine's a lot looser than yours will be. Yours will be held by tension. But that's how you separate it. It separates into 3 plastic parts. Got it? And this is how it's basically assembled. I'll show it to you at the very end how you assemble it. Now that you've released the back part, you are going to then remove 6 screws. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As you can see, mine I tightened, but not too tight. They're not factory tight anymore. That's one of the ways to alleviate the stress that's occurring in that area. This screw that I'm dealing with right now, that's attached to the silver plastic, is a different screw from everything else that you're going to be removing. It's a shorter screw, and I will do a comparison than everything else. Here, see the difference? So I don't know what you're gonna do. You can separate it and put it in a different magnet, or just keep in mind that it's a different screw. But it's a different screw. You don't want to be using the wrong screws and stripping the plastic on this. So you strip the plastic, there's no way to recover it. It's going to be loose. This one is giving me a hard time to removing, so I'm just going to skip that for now. I'm really hoping that this time I'm showing all the steps properly, unlike before. But you have to forgive me from before. Before, my main goal was to zoom in on the damaged product or the damaged area, because my stress point, my cracks, was so minuscule. Honestly, a hair's width, a hair would not be able to fit into the crack that I'm seeing. I couldn't even tell that there was a crack. But there was, and I can see because the oil from the inside had seeped through the front, which I had intentionally cleared and cleaned, and it was dull. And then you can see the shiny, oily plastic residue that seeped through the line of crack. Okay, and use this one. He is really not participating. This one. Okay, I'm just gonna be careful. So I know there's 2 in there, but you want to make sure you remove yours. So okay, now what's the next point? The next point is very easy. All you gotta do is spread this open all the way in. Look at that, it just came off, right? Because basically this, when you close it, it will encapsulate this part of the front part like that, and that's what's keeping it in. That's how you separate it. Is that in camera? God, I hope so. So let me do that again. Imagine that the torso is still connected. And it was closed like this, right? In order to release this, all you got to do is open this all the way wide, and this just opens up like that. See? Okay. Now, What's the issue that's going on? I want you to see, this is the back panel, this is the front panel. Do you see the difference between the construction of the three? I'm referring to these 3 ribs that's missing on the front. Why is the front missing? Because the design of this thing doesn't allow for it. Unlike the back, as you can see, it's thicker than this one. You see the difference between the two? There is a difference of that much. That allows for the ribs to continue down. And what that does is it reinforces that section. Because it's not here, and you can even see that it tapers off from deep to shallow until nothing. They can't do it. They cannot do a rib construction in that one unless they project this surface out. It's in the design of this particular part. That's what I mean by, is it a design flaw? It is. Because what happens is once you remove the rib, you basically have a reinforced section here tapering down to the natural resistance of the plastic. And unfortunately, that area is where you're holding on to. You're not holding on to this because this is, let me put it back on again. You're not holding on, when you're yanking on this, you won't be holding on to this one because you're still kind of afraid of this movement part here. So the only solid piece that you naturally gravitate to is here, because that's a solid piece, less likely that you're dealing with this one. Unfortunately, that also happens to be the weakest point. This is all speculation, right? All speculation on my part. Now, Optionzero, the member from TFW 2005, the other thing he pointed out in your copy, you can also separate this, just in your copy, was there is very little play here. These are the rails, and his was, when he opened it up, even though he didn't see any crackings on his, I think on the front plate, this was all bent. What's happening is because this is perfectly fitted, as you can see, there's no space between the gray plastic and the rails, and I've already sanded mine off. This is so perfectly fitted that this has to move perfect like that. But if it's perfectly fitted, and that's the resistance you're getting, so you're kind of forced to yank it strong, in which case you're holding it here, you're yanking it there with enough force to bring it down, which could damage everything connected here, because this is solid, this is reinforced. You're not going to damage this, you're going to damage everything here. Other people will wiggle it back and forth. Look at what it's what it's hitting. It'll gonna hit all those ribs, damaging it and forcing it. That's the issue. That's the second issue. That's occurring in the front as well. But it looks like, for me, because of this empty spot, it's more prone to happening in the front. Now, as I said, this is all conjecture. Why am I thinking that it's the ribs that's causing it, or the lack of it, that's causing the damages? Because it occurred to me, and I've looked at this really hard. Why are the cracks only happening in the front and not in the back? And the only difference that I can tell, because when you're applying equal pressure, you're holding it like this. So why is it only happening in the back? Because as far as I can tell, the difference are the ribs. It's here, it's not here. This is thicker and reinforced, and it's not. This is just relying on the thickness of the plastic. Eventually, I think you will start to see, and there might be here already, I'm not sure if these are cracks. You will start to see cracks here, because this is the insertion point of the tab eventually. And this is fitted perfectly, which you kind of want anyway, because it has a nice click to it. And you don't want that loose, because then your back flap will flap. But I'm not sure if these are cracks already, or if that's just the design. But eventually, yes, you will see cracks there too. You can't avoid it though. That's just the design. It's not a design flaw. It's just a design limitation of it, I think. So the other question I had was, what was that material that I put in here? This is not a guaranteed fix, okay? This is just an assumption on my part. You cannot reinforce this by applying a thinner layer of plastic on this one, which would mean you're making this thicker, which would be your first solution. You can't, because it will not go down, it will interfere, you will not be able to close this. You cannot reinforce it like that. So what you need is a glue, but you don't need a glue that will make this thicker, because it will, again, it will hamper this and you will not be able to close it. You cannot put glue in here that would add to the surface of this plastic. It will interfere, trust me. So what was my solution? My solution is to use this. This is called weld on, or plastic weld, or something like that. It's weld on. You can get it from Amazon, and it's designed for acrylic plastics. You can read it if you want. Be very, very careful. Very dangerous chemical. Use all protection and gloves and everything. Do not inhale this too much, okay? This is the dangerous stuff. Okay, and this evaporates. Oops, this is still loose. I've literally felt it. This evaporates very, very easily. In fact, if you leave it on for an hour, half of it will be gone. Ugh, very strong smell. This evaporates very, very quickly, and so it will dry really, really quickly. But it has a consistency and what do you call it? The flow of water, like literal water, and might even be more so. So what that means is that it flows into cracks very, very easily. It's used by modelers. It's used by model makers in the film industry and everything, but it's very, very strong. It is not meant to be a gap filler, this glue, okay? There's nothing else you gotta do. Just apply it liberally here. What it does is basically melts the plastic together. Also, don't apply too much, because you might start warping the plastic. You just need enough. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the properties of water, where it just seeps into to any kind of cracks. Well, the more liquid properties it has, I can't remember the term for it. The more of its properties to flow easily into cracks, the better, because my crack is very, very thin. So I needed something to flow into that crack and seal it. Right? So this is not a gap filler. It's not meant to be that. That's why in the very end of my video, and I saw the shininess appear here through the crack, I was hoping that if I rub it, it will retain the shininess of it. Because you see here, it's still shiny for where I applied it. That's the glue right there. But mine wiped away, which tells me what I saw here afterwards was just the oil that seeped through. This is not a perfect solution. I don't know if it made it stronger. I don't want to test it, because obviously I have a crack in there. I don't want to aggravate it any further. This is just preventative for me. But I can't zoom in anymore, because this video is just to show you how things are constructed. But in my previous video, I did speculate that this might be caused by the same thing. This is the worst part and everything. So this is the best solution I can think of, right? Do not add thick glue in this area. You will not, once it dries, you will not be able to close it. And it won't help on the cracking, because if it's thick glue, that means it's a possibility it did not get into the cracks. And that's basically what you want to fix anyway. So again, I used this material, weld on, and it's a big container, so I use it for a lot of stuff. Now let's talk about, so I think I talked about the possible causes and everything. So let me put it together and let me show you, because I know there's a crack in there. I fixed it, maybe, I don't know. I don't want to aggravate it. I will show you the way I will do it, and you decide if you want to do it or not and everything. Okay, let me put it together, and it's not really that difficult once you know the pattern. First, you put the back plate in, you put it here. and like so. Okay, I'll try to do this on camera. Open the hands completely like that. We're just doing things backwards. Put this along the rail. This is going to be the hardest part for me because I need it to be held. You don't need, it doesn't need to be exact, doesn't need to be perfect. Oh, by the way, Optionzero, basically his solution was to sand this off to remove any more friction or lessen the friction as your, notice that my hand is blue. That's basically a touch. When the glue got into my hands and I touched the paint, it rubbed off. That's how strong it is. Anyway, Optionzero's solution is to sand this off. Technically, yes, he's correct. You can sand off as much as you want because this doesn't really hurt the movement as much, or it doesn't really hurt the stability of the figure because you're sandwiching it in between these two. However, the more you remove from this, the more you'll have this wiggle waggle movement as you're bringing it down. The more the chances that you will start creating friction in these ribs over here. So just do enough and you can play with it. Make sure it's moving back and forth. Don't screw it in until you can see the movement is much more smoother. It will be loose, yes, but you will lessen the effort of putting strain as you're bringing this down, and that's, I think, is what's really causing it. I don't think this, of course, will cause a problem too, because obviously I'll show you. This ratchet will cause a problem too. Some people are saying they'll just glue that in because it doesn't really serve a purpose. I will leave that up to you. I'm not going to do it. Okay. So to put it in, put it like this. Put this one over here. And I got that backwards. Okay. Put this in like here. Put this over here. I'm not perfect. I can make mistakes. And just squeeze it in slowly. Yes, I'm holding it by the danger zone. I'm trying not to put as much pressure like that. Good. Also, if you have to touch it like this, notice that my hand is, I'm trying to avoid this area. I'm putting pressure here and here where I know the ribs are the strongest. Okay, so avoid touching this part. Avoid touching this part. Once you've got it like that, flip it over, close this. That will prevent the chest from separating. And I mentioned to you why in earlier. So I would suggest putting a screw here in this corner. Since this one's already here, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten that. And now I can release it. Put one here. Actually, I'll just go ahead and put every screw that you need to put in. Basically 1, 2, 3, 4, and I already screwed that. And then finally the 6th one, this one, the small one on the gray. The 2 small ones on the gray. Remember that. Honestly, now that I think about it, I'm not sure if you even have to remove the small one, but it's this one. But so, I'm not sure if you have to remove this one, but I'm so used to removing it, that's why I do anyway. Oh yes, you do, because there's actually 6 connections. Yes, you definitely need to remove the gray. Okay, did I screw everything? I did not. Did not do that. This one, how come this thing is still higher than the other ones? It's already tight. Do not force tightening this. Okay, that's it. Now, how do you install this? Because it's confusing as heck, right? and it will be difficult. So the first thing is, this is how I install it, much easier, as the easiest way I found out. Put this in. I'm hoping it's in. I'm gonna put this way because I can see it easier this way. Put this in like so. Oh, I changed my mind. I'm gonna do it this way. Put the head in first. Make sure this is the proper orientation. You're gonna put this in all the way up to here. And trust me, even though mine's looser, yours is tighter, you're gonna be having a hard time. Move it back and forth, rock it back and forth until, and don't force it in because it just needs to be properly aligned. And right now the difficulty is aligning it because you're not seeing what's going on. You're just doing everything by feel. See how much, like, I'm even having difficulty doing this because it's just so perfectly aligned. So I'm gonna try flushing it like that, and then I'm gonna bring it down. See if that's easier. See, I'm like even applying force at this point, which I should not be because this should align in fine. So let me take it out, play with it this way. This is the part that's hard because that's, look, even with me exposed, I'm having a hard time just putting it in. See? That's why this is so difficult. So, oops. You can see how not easy this is. So don't be alarmed if you're having a problem with this part. Do not force it in. You're basically trying to put it in without seeing what's going on. Come on, I know you're in there. Come on. There. Whew. Finally. Okay, so now that you got that, make sure this, wait, anyway, so once this is, should be easier than the other one, but you're gonna be putting that same long thing into this one, but at the same time making sure that this metal pin is gonna go into this spot, and at the same time you can do it like this, but remember this has to be inside. Last time I forgot and I just forced it in, which I don't feel comfortable telling you guys to do. So extend this all the way until the head comes out. Oh, because you're still having to thread this one, so let's concentrate on that first. We need to see the head pop up on the other side. See, even this one is having difficulty doing so. Okay, concentrate on that part, and see now that I just noticed that this is in here and there's nothing coming out there. That's going to be handled by the screw. So this is how it's supposed to look like. So now that I know that, I'm going to keep making sure the gray plastic is inside. See how it's not inside? I gotta move it back a little bit, make sure that's inside. You can force it later on. It's just, you're just putting stress on this and you might end up breaking it. So it's just easier just to put it inside now properly. So this, now that I've seen what's going on, just concentrate on this part to that part, and then this part to this part. And basically what you're doing, let's see, come on now, what am I doing? Okay, this is going to be harder to show you guys because it's all inside. So you're basically making sure this is close enough. Okay, can't show it. Like this will meet there and the pin. So I think line up the pin first. That will make it easier. Yeah, insert the pin here and then make sure you're inserting it on that one. Did I show that? Let me pull it out again. Insert the pin here and then you're gonna concentrate on inserting the pin, and then this one and this one are the ones you're watching out for. Insert pin. Okay, watching. That's it. Press it together. Grab your screws. I hope you guys saw that on video. I can't watch it again because I can only see it after editing. But I pointed out the 3 spots as much as I can and hope that's clear enough. I know it was in frame. It's just a matter of was it visible or not. Second screw. Now, for the damages in the front, if it's gotten to the point that your cracks are so visible in the front, I mean, you have the option of complaining to Hasbro and see if they can send you another copy. You'll never know if you'll get a good enough copy, or you might end up having the same issue. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can say about that. So in terms of the front, that's more of a cosmetic issue that you could probably fix, but then I can't show you how to do that because that takes a lot of added skill, unlike this one where you kind of need to make sure that you know what you're doing. Did I do that backwards, the head? Because I can't flip this down, and I might have done it backwards. Because it doesn't turn. Yes, I did it backwards. All right. Second chance to do this. And I'm not going to edit this mistake out because it's important. I know it's making the video longer, but it also shows you, yes, I can make mistakes. You will make mistakes, just as long as the mistakes you're making are not gonna further damage it. Just being careful. Just be careful when you do this. That's all I'm saying. That's the hard part too. Like installing that one, my first attempt. Just threading that head in is difficult. The video is longer if I'm, since I'm not editing it out, but you see the mistakes, and you know, my mistakes means that that's what you want to watch out for, not to repeat. Okay, as you can see, like again, this is it falling apart easily, coming apart easily. Yours will have more difficulty because it's brand new first time around. Just all you do is just take this out and then slowly work this out. Yours will be stiff because it's the first time. Mine has now been through it 4 times. So when you're installing it, the head is supposed to be like that. Just remember, because he needs to have his head properly put in. So again, putting it together, just put this thing here the easiest way. Once you see it come out of that edge, it's ready to be inserted here. And this is going to be the hard part because you're fishing for that connection. Oh, I got lucky. Okay, once you do that, push it through so you see the head come out of this hole. Now we're ready for this part again, and I will show you. So this gives you a second chance to find out how to do it. Again, concentrate on inserting the pin first into this spot, but basically you want to watch this one and this one attached to this one and this one. Did I come through? Dang it. Again, your first step is to align the metal pin into this spot, but basically you want to watch this pin go into this hole and this pin go into that hole. That's the best I can do to show you. So I'm aligning the metal pin first, and then I'm watching the inside, which is hard to do, and I'm getting cross-eyed. So hold on for a second. And I can see that mine is not aligned. Okay, just making sure the pin is still stuck. I am aligning the back two plastic pins. You won't see it because I can barely see it and I'm getting cross-eyed. But I believe that is now aligned. Now I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to check, make sure that the lines are straight in here. It is. It's ready to be screwed. Time to screw prime. I used to have very good near sight and very bad far sight, and now I just have bad on both of them. And you get kind of like that cross-eyed feeling when you're getting too close. It happens. It'll happen to everybody. All right, finally it's constructed properly, and I can show you the next step. Now you know you're not a special group, and now you know there's no avoiding it. It could have happened already. You don't know. If you don't open it, you'll never know. If you don't have a crack, that's fine. Don't open it. Oh yeah, you can open it and apply the fix from Optionzero and everything. But the other thing too is this. Do not hold it here. That is the weakest point of the whole thing. If you want to, yours is going to be stiff the first time around because it's brand new. Everything's all tight. If you need to bring this down, hold it here and hold it here, and you can bring it down. Mine's easier now because it's looser and everything, and I've done the Optionzero fix and everything is easy. You can probably do it this way too. Hold it in the crotch and then bring it down and hold it like that. See, mine has more give now, but I honestly think the tendency of people to bring it down forcefully. I honestly think that most collectors, when they feel that resistance bringing this down, they will shimmy this forward and thereby causing friction to those three side ribs that we saw, right? I think that's just very natural for people to do. So because that, and this is the important part of why Optionzero's solution is good, by making that friction less, you're able to have to put force to bring it down. Look at how easy mine is now. All right. Now, when they say that the ab crunch is not necessary and you can remove it, yes, you can. If you want to, you can glue it if you want to. That's completely up to you, or just not use it. The thing is, when you're doing this ab crunch, I'm gonna hold it. I don't want to show this. When you're forcing this ab crunch in, look at what you're pressuring on. You're pressuring on the side and side, right? So at the most, maybe if you want to do ab crunch, do it here at the bottom crunch, like that. So don't do it here. You don't really need to glue it. Just don't use it. Just don't use it. There's really no need to use that one as far as I can see, even from Omega Prime. but I can show you, I guess, because actually I don't know why they have that. You can't use it anyway, because once you, okay, we'll talk about that later. So that's what I would do in terms of extending and bringing it down. Do the Optionzero solution, lessen the friction and the fact, okay? Just do it like that. Now, when you're securing the backpack, and even with mine, this is going to be a little bit hard. Did I do this correctly? Oh, I forgot to insert the 2 plastics, see? So here's me doing it, forcing it the wrong way, and you can't force it back in. You just, it will just be so much easier that when you put it in, make sure that's inside. And I'm going to be lazy. I know I can probably do it, but that's not the optimum way of doing it. You can, but you don't want to do it too much, because you might break those tabs. All right, so going back, but I wasn't going to disassemble and put it back together again. So in the back, what you want to do is bring it down up to that point. Put your 2 fingers here, 2 fingers there. See that? No pressure whatsoever, and tab it in. That's it. That's what you got to do. To remove it, reverse it. Put your 2 fingers here, put your finger here, your 2 fingers there, and push or squeeze, and that'll come out. That's it. Less amount of pressure, the much as you can. No pressure whatsoever here and everything. But I guarantee you that the first time people who didn't know how to do it, or wasn't aware of the situation, not really bothering to do it, I guarantee you they had this finger here and here, pressing it, because that, less amount of force. Less amount of work. You're only using 2 fingers instead of my method where you do this. You have to use both hands, 4 fingers. It's natural, right? And look, I guarantee you the people in the factory testing this out, this is what they did, causing pressure in this one. And that's probably when the cracks first occur. They just do this. You can even hold it like that. It doesn't matter. These are strong. Just don't touch this one to close it. Like that. Okay. What's the other thing too? I think in my first video on Prime, I said that you can, on Super Mode Prime, you can have an ab crunch by releasing this. I'm going to do that. See, by releasing this and applying the ab crunch. You don't need to use this one. Like I said, you can use this one, but notice that when I'm doing it, I'm putting my finger here so that the tension does not come into this part. You do not want to apply too much pressure here, because again, when you do, then you're probably applying pressure in this part, and that's causing the breakage to it. Remember, this is the danger spot. You don't want any kind of pressure here. And that's only if you want to accomplish the ab crunch for Omega Prime or for Super Mode Prime. All right, so I'm going to put it back. I'm going to put my Omega Prime together, and that's it. All right, guys, thank you for watching my videos. I know I've done multiple videos on this toy already, more so than any other toy I've done. I noticed that you guys were interested in it. I know it can be helpful, it can be stressful, but this is the most safest way that I can think of on how to take it apart. It's just to show you how to do it and what you need to avoid so you don't break it any more than you have to, and prevent it. Because at this point, whether or not, like somebody mentioned, whether or not a third party might construct this better or offer a new solution, whatever happens, or get a replacement from Hasbro, which I don't think they'll do, just the first plate, because it means you have to disassemble it, and they're more liable for that. Whether or not they do that, you don't know if it will fix the issue. you just don't, because I think it's a design flaw. It's a design weakness. So the best thing you can do at this point, as long as you don't see a crack, to lessen the chances it will expand, get bigger or anything, just handle it carefully. Handle it the way I'm doing it with the two. Here you can even do like this if you want to. As long as the pressure you're putting in is here, 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 avoid this one, you're fine. Okay, I think. Right, thank you for watching. I hope this helps you guys out. I hope you had the patience to watch all the way through my video and the last of this video. This is the last of it, I swear, because I don't think there's any other thing I need to talk about, unless somebody talks about any more breakage that I catch or anything like that. Then I'll open him up again, or maybe not. I'm kind of getting sick and tired of doing videos for this one. So I'm not a professional YouTuber. I don't make it for money. I don't do anything like that. For me, it's just time for me to do these videos and re-edit it and everything. But I do know that it helps you guys out, and I'm very, very thankful for the community. Not just my community, but the community of YouTubers, YouTuber, what do you call those, makers out there who actually devote the time to show how to transform properly, like MGO316, TM Reviews, Deluxe Baldwin, Prime vs. Prime. Those are my regular channels that I go to. I am very, very appreciative of them doing it, and them doing it properly to help me transform things. And it's difficult because I'm lazy and I don't like watching instructions, and those guys really, really help me a lot. So this is my way of getting back to the community at large to help you guys out as they have helped me. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you guys again on my next review. Bye.